Hi everyone, I'm Gina Minardi and I'm a licensed therapist who got fed up with therapy. This is a one-woman show about my journey of finding the spaces between non-traditional approaches of healing. What I learned is that there's no one right way to heal, and you truly are your best resource. Therapists and healers are meant to support you on your path, but they don't have all of the answers. You do. This show is about the spaces between laughter, tears, thoughts, ego, soul, messy growth, and moments of joy. It's about personal liberation, inner knowing, and the tools that get you there. I will cover topics that make many of us uncomfortable and interviewing people who are willing to go there. I've spent thousands of hours listening to human beings navigate their life story, from rehabs in Malibu to homeless shelters in East LA, and now my private practice. It has been some of the most profound, painful, and beautiful moments in my life. Thank you so much for joining me. Hi, friends. So I'm recording this after interviewing the incredibly dynamic Jennifer Pastiloff. She is the author of the national bestseller, On Being Human, which is a raw and beautiful story of Jennifer's journey of self-acceptance and letting love in. I had picked up her book a few months ago, and I didn't really understand why, except I was drawn to the cool title and stellar reviews. But like most synchronistic things in life, I know that I was truly meant to read her book, as her words help push me to do this podcast and to continue my own journey with self-love and self-acceptance. I still find it incredibly surreal that I interviewed her. In true Jennifer fashion, she decided to turn the tables on me in the beginning of the interview and pushed me to my edge of vulnerability on being human by challenging me to have a panic attack on the spot to just get it over with, because she knows that I have a deep fear of public speaking. It's really true. And there is also part of me that wanted to erase that part of the interview because, number one, I'm a perfectionist, and number two, I felt some shame around it. And not that Jennifer shamed me at all. If anything, she was just profoundly highlighting to just be me. And that is everything that her and I talked about, which is the difficulty of owning all of the things that exist within us, the sides of ourselves that we don't like, the emotions or things that we struggle with that we want to push away. That shame isn't logical or rational, and really how to deal with your inner asshole and the bullshit stories that we tell, which hold us back from showing up in the world the way that we really want to and authentically. Also, how to be honest and listen deeply. So all in all, I decided to keep the entire interview, and because it's so authentically who she is and how she helps people. Jennifer really pushes you to your edges. She's raw, she's courageous, and outspoken about owning all of who you are. I hope you enjoy this as much as I did. Thank you. Hi, Jennifer.
Hi, Gina. How are you doing? I am so well aware of your issues with public speaking and your fear that you're going to have a panic attack. So I would like to take 5 minutes, or maybe, I don't know, 1 minute before we dive in to allow you to have a panic attack, if that's what you need.
It'll probably happen throughout. It'll be like subtle waves as we're going through it. But thank you. This space right now, I'm sweating through my sweater, and yes, thanks.
So yeah, panic attacks. I mean, and I know you really have suffered with legitimate panic attacks. And those of you listening, I'm not being facetious. Panic attacks are a real thing. And so if any point, you do what you need to do. I'm right here, but I'm really happy to be here. Thanks for asking me.
Oh, it's surreal that I'm actually staring at you on Zoom. Because I think I told you when I picked up your book a couple months ago, I have to meet this soul. Like I have to, the depth and the authenticity and the vulnerability and courage that you bring to the table is insane. So thank you for being here.
Thanks. Well, thanks. I authenticity. I always struggle with that word. Is my jam. And I don't know about courage. Some days I feel like I got none, but I can say I do my best to be #real motherfucking life.
Yeah. You are #real motherfucking life. That is yes.
I try. What other way is there to be? I just don't. I don't know. Maybe because I'm in my 40s. Maybe because I just came out of the womb that way. I don't know, but I really just don't. I don't see another way to be.
Yeah.
For me.
Well, yeah.
Let me clarify. For me.
Yeah. I mean, and let's get real with the audience. You and I before this were just talking about raging PMS and how hormones, I was telling you how I have this feeling when I get this way, and I'm speaking really to women, I want to embrace that it's hard to work through the hormonal stuff and the anxiousness that comes with that. So I'm going to honor it right now because you told me to honor all my feelings going into this interview. So
yeah,
anywho,
I bossed you around. I bossed you around.
You bossed me around. You were like, PMS, anxiety, own it.
Well, I think, what I found in my own life is that, and it's something that I forget a lot, is that if you want to call it honoring the feeling or whatever it is, or noticing it, or just allowing it to be, it shifts. Mm-hmm. And it's so much more beneficial for us, I think, as human beings to allow it, honor it, acknowledge it rather than ignore it, push it down, pretend it's not there, cover it up.
Yeah.
And I've just embraced that way of being. That doesn't mean that it always feels good, because I too right now am dealing with hormonal stuff and it feels like shit.
Yeah.
And it makes me feel all these things that I've worked through, unworthy, ugly, not enough. And it's like, no. So I just allow it and go, okay, you know what? My hormones are out of whack right now, and I'm just going to breathe.
Yeah. And I even remember there was a part in your book when you broke your foot, I believe. And you talked about the stillness, like what comes up when we go into stillness and just with whatever needs to arise. And I feel one of my go-to ways of being in the world is when I start to feel uncomfortable. I really do. I want to pull out of my skin. I don't want to be in it. I don't want to face it. But learning how to just be with it. And there in that is, with the acceptance comes moving through, comes healing, comes insight. But it's hard. It's hard to be with things that are really uncomfortable.
Of course it is. And it's not, and it's not like we're not, well, some people are masochists, but yeah, of course it is. And I too spent my whole life. And I think a lot of people, probably the majority of people, have found ways to not be in their body and to disconnect and to not feel rather than allow it.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's the work of being a human being.
Yeah.
But yeah, I broke my foot, and at the time I was off antidepressants, and I couldn't run anymore. And one of the ways that I avoid being in my body was by over exercising. Not so much anymore at all. But back then, it was 2014, I was falling into this really unhealthy pattern again of like, just go, go, go. And I couldn't do that with the broken foot. And I just had to sit here, and I wasn't on meds. And it was really painful just to sit with my shit and in my shit.
Yeah. I think I told you the 6 weeks that I was sick in March, and the 3 days that I went into silence because I just couldn't handle being sick anymore. I've never had to face my shit so intensely. And it was just like everything came upwelling to the surface because I don't think I've done silent retreats before, but I've never been in such physical discomfort, and my lungs and the breathing and everything that came with that. Yeah, it was a huge teacher for me because I realized how much you learn from actually being with and facing versus running from. Yeah. Speaking of running,
and that's why. Oh,
no,
that's what I say. That's why you know this. That's why I encourage people, and I didn't do it this morning. There I am telling the truth, but I encourage people to start the day with at least 5 minutes of silence and prayer. And I call it prayer. You can call it meditation, whatever you want to call it. But even 5 minutes will change your life. It really will. And you do it every day, and you create this habit. Because the easier choice and the path of least resistance is to just get up and go, or get up and look at your phone, or keep moving, keep going, keep rushing.
Yeah, it is not the way, slowing down. I think actually a medical intuitive that I worked with talked about just how much healing there is just in slowing down. So even if you're sitting down, slowing down the movement of your foot pressing into the floor, and kind of what can happen to your entire nervous system when you actually do slow down, versus like we always, and being Americans, right? We're always in this like high gear, revved up, super fucking fast, needing to be productive, needing to be on. And that's why so much, I think, goes really repressed. And that's why we all overdrink and over Netflix and all of the things, because feeling is too intense.
Is there such thing as over Netflixing?
I don't think so. No, especially when it's normal people. Did you watch? Oh, I guess that was on Hulu, not Netflix. Did you watch Normal People?
No, because I wanted to read the book first. And so I just read the book, and now I'm going to.
Okay.
It was one of the, I was like, nah, got to read the book first, just because so many people talked about that book. And so I did, but now I'm going to. I noticed though, I'm not watching as much. I used to be the queen of watching stuff, but I would watch it when I would go to the gym on the elliptical. I'm sort of a lazy exerciser. And so it was my favorite thing. I'd go on the elliptical for an hour and watch a show, and the gym's been closed, and I don't have a Peloton or, elliptical in my house. And so it's funny. I notice I'm not watching stuff because that's when I did it.
Yeah.
And I was like, I get to watch my programs and I get to exercise.
And you're like, and now that gyms are closed because we're in a pandemic, it's not happening, which brings me to, I wanted to ask you, this was a sort of quick segue. 2020 has been a really big year for all of us. And it's sort of it's a redundant question, but I'm going to ask every single person who comes onto my podcast, because for me, really how I look at it on an individual and collective level. So individually, we were kind of faced to be internal and face all of our shit. And really anything that we kind of haven't worked through has risen to the surface. And I've seen it in my clients, my friends, myself, my relationship with my partner. And I have faced my shit on a level that has been more intense, and it's been deeper than any year I've experienced. And collectively, we're watching the dismantling, hopefully, of corrupt politicians, systemic racism. Let us pray. Wait,
Gina, let me interrupt you for one second, just so we have no panic attacks. Are you recording this?
Yeah.
Because no, I don't see it say record. I just want to make sure, because I wanted to. I wanted to preempt a panic attack. I'm preempting a panic attack.
I was like, Jennifer, I was in the flow, and now I'm going to have a panic. I'm joking. It says recording.
Okay, great. Keep going.
I swear.
Yeah. So keep asking the question. Look, folks, I'm always looking out. I got you.
Okay.
And I just thought,
you got me. Okay. So if I'm to kind of succinctly like squash that question, what's come up for you? What have you had to look at in 2020? Maybe what have been some of your losses? What have been some of your epiphanies?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
can we talk about this the whole remainder of the episode, because it's been a lot?
Yeah, of course.
And I feel emotional today because, you know, the aforementioned hormonal stuff.
Yeah.
Let's see. So going into 2020, I was really excited because I was going to be making a lot of money. And, you know, I live in this, you know, 500 square foot apartment with my family. And I finally, you know, I'm 45 years old. I was like, yes, I got this great speaking agent, and I'm like making a shit ton doing big speaking events. I had 3 European retreats. I was doing another workshop with Elizabeth Gilbert. I mean, I was on the cover of Yoga Journal, you name it, like all these things, boom, 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 boom. So I was really excited, like, yeah, 2020 is going to be my year. And March came along, and everything went away. And I got really depressed. And I didn't even realize how depressed I got until I was no longer in that space. But so March, you know, so all my income went, like everything, because everything I make is from was from in-person live events. And but one of the ways that I kept getting out of bed was by asking, how may I serve, which is something that I learned from my great teacher Wayne Dyer. And you know, and it looks different every day, but one of the ways that I became of service in the early days of the pandemic was through my Instagram, really helping feed people who didn't have food to eat, couldn't feed themselves or their kids. And so I lost myself in that. And it was great. I had a partner, this woman, Dana Mondello, and we raised like way over $100,000 and fed all these people, and all these celebrities came on my Instagram live just to like help feed people. And I felt really, it felt good, you know, because it feels good when you help other people, but such a primal thing, like you're feeding people, and then also feeding people in another way, the people who are watching these conversations, and they were really inspiring and beautiful. So that was really great. And then by like June, I thought, oh shit, you know, now I got to really, though, that was an avoidance, and it was a beautiful avoidance, but it certainly was, because how am I going to feed? I'm the breadwinner. How am I going to feed my family? Thank God I have this tiny apartment and the cheap rent, but how am I going to feed my family, and what am I going to do? And I really resisted the online stuff. I was having a hard time with that big word now, pivoting. And a really dear friend of mine who I met when I was raising that money, named Krista Vernoff. She's the showrunner of Grey's Anatomy and 2 other shows, because she's a amazing, I don't even know who can be a showrunner for 3 shows, but she really helped me. And she created this platform called Convocate. And I did some online workshops. One was with Liz Gilbert, one was with Kevin McKidd, Josh Radner. One was with Mandy Moore, but Mandy backed out at the last minute. I couldn't say why at the time, but it's because she was super sick because she's pregnant, but her husband joined us. Point is, I was able to earn some money doing this and get confidence, because I thought, okay, I could see now how I could translate what I do to online stuff. And my paperback came out in June, and I had this whole big, you know, virtual book tour planned. And then the, you know, revolution started happening with Black Lives Matter. And I thought, I don't need to be doing a book tour right now. So when we started doing these workshops, like in July, it was nice because it was a way to promote the book. And since I had put off that book tour, all this to say is that at this time, I was still really, really depressed. I had dropped down on my antidepressants stupidly, because I thought I was going to switch, because I was feeling a bit dead inside. And I thought, okay, Prozac isn't working anymore. And so my doctor said, well, drop down and then we'll switch. But what happened was, let's call it was last spring, I dropped down and I thought, I feel good. I'm just going to stay on this low dose of Prozac. And so the summer came, and I did my workshops, and I did them, you know, really well, because I'm good at what I do, but I was faking it because I was like so depressed and in a really, really bad space. So finally in September, I went back up and I started to feel like myself again. So a lot of stuff came of 2020. that's why I joked and I said, can we talk about it the whole time? One of them was, one of my favorite quotes is, it's not what you don't know that gets you in trouble. It's what you think you know for sure that just ain't so. Mm-hmm. So around April, I remember thinking, well, this year's fucked. I have no money. This is just bad, 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 bad. And a friend of mine said, why are you writing off the year? It's only April. And now here I am in October and I'm doing really well. And I thought, wow, it's so true. I made this decision in April. I was not in a place of possibility, and that's okay. My friendships really deepened during 2020. So one of the things I looked at was how the duality of life, which I talk about in my book, how something can be so hard and painful and also so beautiful. Yeah. I started private coaching again, as you know, which I didn't have time to do before because I was traveling so very much. And I started doing that again. And I started finding things that I love doing. Mm-hmm. And I really, the word for me is possibility, because before I was living on an airplane and that was hard. And when and if the world comes back to travel and what have you, I still want to do what I do, but on a way lesser scale. Mm-hmm. And what has happened now is I have this possibility, like, oh, I can make a lot of money and I could have this great, powerful effect doing what I do online, and I could supplement my other stuff with that. So I could be with my family more, so I can take care of myself more, so I can not get as sick as much. Mm-hmm. So I'm not as we were talking about earlier, as running around all the time. Mm-hmm. But gosh, I also, I launched a podcast last week with my best friend, and that's another thing, is that we had no idea what we were doing and we did it anyway, probably very similar to how you feel. Yeah. And it was just a reminder of, like, be afraid and do it anyway. Yeah. Yeah. And then I say another thing that came up for me is this program I'm launching right now called Shame Loss. It's not out yet, but a lot came up for me around shame during this pandemic, so much video showing my home, which I always showed before, but really, like, talking to Pink, talking to all these famous people. And here I am in my single, apartment, 1 bedroom with, like, I'm in my bedroom / laundry room / playroom / and being really open about where I was with my depression. And I just really got to the place with like, I have nothing to hide. Mm-hmm. I don't. That doesn't mean that everyone knows everything about me. Certainly not. And it will never be that way. But I don't have to hide how I live or who I am. And I got really, really clear on that, clearer than I've ever been.
Wow. Yeah.
So that was a monologue. So
no,
let me have a sip of coffee.
Have a sip of coffee. I mean, there's so much that I want to say to that. But I think 2 big things. One, which was possibility, and then not wanting to hide. And I really relate to both of those. I mean, I think this year has been really kind of this push and this call to all of us to look at what are the different possibilities and the different ways of showing up in the world, and what are the different ways of showing up, whether it's with your career, within your family, how you're going to attend to yourself, how you're going to love yourself. There's so many different possibilities. And yeah, like you, I think I went into the darkest doldrums, particularly in the COVID, the sickness time. And even last night, my boyfriend and I, we have fires in our backyard a lot. And
God, I'm so jealous.
Well, you're coming over. So we made this his best friend who was sick with us for those 6 weeks when we were all together. He had chipped away and made this little wooden man, which represented Jonas, my partner. And last night we decided we wanted to burn this man. And
okay, so you guys are full on doing like your own Burning Man in your backyard.
I've never been.
Of course you were.
No, I've never been to Burning Man. I swear to God. Jonas would die actually if he knew it was compared to Burning Man. But we sat there and we just talked about, holy shit, in March, we were all separately in different beds going, oh my God, my fucking lungs. Like, are my lungs ever going to be the same again? The weird sort of mental, I want to say, trauma that we experienced going through that. And then now being on the other side, which is now I'm doing this podcast and I have you on the show, and there's going back to the possibilities. There's been so much shifting and big. Yeah. And it's not, but it is like you said. And so much of what touched me from your book is life really is this duality. I mean, it can be these experiences of you experience such extreme suffering and then simultaneously also joy and growth and healing and all this really just big stuff. So wait, I was going to go back to, you said possibility and then getting out of hiding. Yeah. I think, getting out of hiding.
No more hiding. No more hiding.
No more hiding. Yes. Which brings me to, I wanted to talk about, I don't know if hiding goes so much into this, but I really did want to touch on today. You're really known for talking about your inner asshole and bullshit stories. But I would say actually that's connected to hiding, because so many people hide behind their bullshit stories as far as, yes. So, I'm depressed, therefore I'm never going to be able to do this for myself. Like, I hate public speaking. Why would I ever do a podcast?
Yeah.
Right. So I guess I just kind of wanted you to talk a little bit about the inner asshole bullshit stories, and what you've done to work through your own bullshit stories.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of some bullshit stories, well, here's some common ones. Right now, something that's really exciting for me, really exciting, is so I started coaching again, as you know.
Yeah.
And I'm working with some teenagers, 2 right now specifically. Both of them, their fathers reached out to me, separate fathers. I'm just like, that to me is so exciting. But so this one teen, I asked her, what are your bullshit stories you want to work on? And what was hers? Oh, it just it reminded me of me at 18. One was like, I'm gross and I'm a disappointment. I know. And it's so interesting working with young people, because it really, it reminds me of how important this work is, but I still deal with that as a bullshit story sometimes. And I'm 45 years old. So I think, wow, it's like shit. Anyway, so those are the kind of things, those are examples of someone listening of like, what is a bullshit story? So both of those things for this person are not true. And it's your inner asshole that says them to you. The inner asshole, for me is like, oh, I'm so fat, or I'm never going to be able to write the second book,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So a lot of the ways that I have learned to quiet my inner asshole and quell it, and also not let my bullshit stories dictate my life. It's not a like a one trick or one pill thing. It's every single day. It's a daily practice. Mm-hmm. And that, I think, is the most important thing we can remember as humans, which is why it's like, oh God, wow, Jen, you're so successful and you're still feeling like, some days you still, like today, I feel like you're gross, whatever. Yes. Because I'm human, and because it's a daily practice. It's not like you get rid of that bullshit story and it never surfaces again. So how do I get rid of it? Well, I'd say the biggest thing is find your people, whether it's in real life or online. And it can be one person, but it's the people who remind you who you really are. Mm-hmm. So like, if you've hired me, maybe I'm that person for you, and that's okay, but find your people. So if you're only surrounding yourself with people who reinforce your bullshit stories, there's an issue.
Yeah.
And I like to think of it like, your people lovingly shake your shoulders. Gina, no, that's a bullshit story. Mm-hmm. And it's lovingly, though. It's not like beating the shit out of you, right?
Yeah.
And then another way is starting the day with a body prayer, which you can read about in my book, or it's really listening to your own body and generating a prayer or a meditation from what that body part says. It sounds woo. It's not at all. It's a way of being connected in your body and starting the day with 5 minutes of silence before looking at the phone, before anything, which has had a profound effect on my life. Another one that I've been talking about a lot, which I did not do last night, is sleeping with my phone in the other room. So that scrolling is not the last thing I do before bed. So I did it last night, and I went to bed feeling jealous and not enough because I was scrolling Instagram before bed. And I recognize that. So finding mantras for yourself, like instead of like, so for this teen, instead of like walking around saying, I'm so gross, like I am here. There, it doesn't have to be a super woo thing. So there's lots of ways. Moving your body, breathing, right? Doing things that make you feel good, practicing self-care every day, no matter how small, but tangible, actionable, specific things every single day.
I love it. Yeah. I mean, everything that you said, before this interview, as I said to you, feeling PMSy and anxious and off. And I kept going, oh my God, I got to reschedule this. Oh no, I can't waste Jennifer's time.
Oh, I'm so glad you did not.
And I was running around the house and, like you said, having a team, my partner kind of stopped me and was just like, you got this. Take a breath. If you have
so perfect. That's
right.
Gina, that is such a perfect example,
Yeah.
And, wow, that's a perfect example. That is what we need. And not everyone is as lucky as you to have what you have with that, but I really stand by the fact that you can find your people. And the beauty of the internet, even though it can be such trash, is that you can find your people. You can.
Yeah. I mean, this about me. I have the biggest struggle with social media and all of the excess information out there. But that was something that I saw in the pandemic was, hey, this is one way that we all really can connect with each other and support one another. And in these times, and I know this from clients, so many people right now feel really fucking lonely and feel really isolated and don't feel like
you're right.
They have a support team or that they have somebody to stop them in the hallway and go take a breath, and so if it needs to be virtual or through Instagram, it is what it is. And it can be a really powerful, beautiful thing. So I'm learning how to do the dance with that. I'm still figuring it out. But
I think as long as you have boundaries within, that's the hardest part. As long as it's not, sucking the life out of you, as long as we have to find that balance, and it's very hard because it's very addictive, addictive. And I have very little self-control with it. And it's not even like I don't even know what I'm checking for or looking for. Yeah. It's just this habit. It makes me feel dirty. It makes me feel dirty.
Well, so, I'm sure you know this, that there have been multiple studies that it lights up the same part of the brain as cocaine. So, I mean,
know that.
I don't know if you've ever done cocaine, but you're just like,
I have not.
Okay.
Booze was my drug of choice, but it's I'm well aware of that, and yet and still,
and then we're all still part of it. I mean, it's. I was talking with a client yesterday about how obviously we've all seen Social Dilemma, and we're all still on social media.
My friend Swan made a meme. She's so funny. Not a meme. She's an illustrator. I don't know why I said meme. And she said there was one, it was like, what was it? It said something like, I watch social media and now I'm back on the internet to tell you that I watch. Not social media, Social Dilemma. It was basically like what everyone does.
Yeah.
And here I am to tell you that I watched it.
And here I am and posting that on Instagram it's a wild beast. But going back to, there's so much I want to cover. I want to be mindful of time. I guess I want to hammer into everybody that's listening to it also what you just said about daily practices. If there is anything I've learned as a therapist and as a human being struggling through my own shit, it's all about daily practices. And that's really what I have found. Like, there's so much bullshit that's like, this is self-love and this is a way that you're going to find your worthiness and it's going to be in this one course or this one book. No, it's a daily practice of showing up for yourself and really connecting through things like prayer, meditation, journaling, whatever it may be. Yes, Jennifer.
Well, you know how big I am on the self-care thing. That's why. And it's a daily thing, every single day. And it doesn't matter how small it is, but every single day, showing up for yourself.
It's huge. So, okay, since I have like 8,000 notes, I'm actually going to put just a few things out to you. And then
Sure.
I want you to choose what you would like to talk about because your book was so profound for me and it really did. And I want to just right now say, part of the reason I'm sitting and doing this podcast was from reading sections of your book. And I mean, I'll cry because I just went, okay, it's time. Like it's time, all these different things. But I'm not going to go into that right now. But what I do want to talk about, or I want to give you these options. So the things that really struck me in your book were conversations on shame, fearlessness-ish.
Yep.
Body stuff, because being a woman in Los Angeles, body image, aging is fucking huge in my practice.
Dude, being a woman anywhere.
Being a woman, again, it's not Los Angeles. You and I both know. I see clients from all over the country. It's everywhere. So, and then also give yourself a fucking medal. When you wrote about that in your book, it was like, no one's going to give you.
I'm proud of that. I give myself a medal for that.
You should. Okay. That's all I'm going to say because there's more pages, but I'm going to stop.
So what was the second thing after shame?
I think I brought up, there was shame, fearlessness.
Oh yeah. Let's talk about that. That because I'm on this really great app. I'm really proud to be part of. It's called Mind, MINED. And last night, every Thursday, I go live Tuesday and Thursday, 5:30 p.m. Pacific time. And Thursdays are happy hour. And each week it's like a riff on something. And last night it was be afraid and do it anyway. And I used my podcast as an example, which I think is the same for you. I think you were terrified.
Yes.
I mean, even this morning to talk to me and you did it anyway. So I give you a medal for that. So be afraid and do it anyway. And I'm not saying put yourself in harm's way at all, but most human beings, aside from people who maybe are sociopaths, have fear.
Yeah.
And for me, it becomes about, well, am I going to let fear be the boss of me? And guess what? Some days I do, and I'm human and I let myself off the hook for it. And some decades of my life I have, but I don't want to live my life that way anymore. So I try. It's not that I'm fearless, but I say I'm fearless-ish, just like I'm Jew-ish and woo-ish. And because there's no way I'm not fearless. That's not truthful. I'm absolutely not fearless. I'm terrified and doing it anyway. I was terrified to put that book in the world and I did it anyway. So I think that just feels more truthful to me. And I actually think it allows people to relax a little because it's like, just be fearless. It's like, who's fearless?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. You're bringing up a point right now. I'm going to sound really like a judgy bitch when I say this, but I went to a workshop on chakras with Jill Willard a few years ago. And there was a woman in the workshop and she was a lovely woman, but she said, I am fearless. I have no fear. And I remember sitting there and I was so fucking triggered. And I was like, why are you judging Gina? Maybe she is really fearless. And maybe somebody gets to that enlightened point in their life that there's just no fear. And then I went, wait, that's like saying that you have, decoded 10,000 years of your limbic system and the part of your brain that is fight, flight, freeze is the part that is fucking survival mode, which I'm sorry, like you said, if we are a sociopath, we don't necessarily feel, but most of us do. And most of us have to get through spaces where it's like, hey, I'm really fucking scared and I'm going to do it anyways, So yeah.
That happened to me once at a workshop, only once. And I was facilitating it, and the woman said she was fearless. And I couldn't but I couldn't be as judgy and triggered because I was facilitating. So I was just like, okay. And of course I knew that wasn't true. But then I thought, and what I think about when you tell the story as well is like, why do you care? It's not you. I mean, it's kind of like, why am I so, I was in this workshop the other day called I Don't Want to Be a Karen. Ebony, Janice, and I forget the other woman's name. I think it's the Monet. They were amazing. I Don't Want to Be a Karen. And, it was an anti-racism course. And Ebony Janice, she's amazing. She said, you know why black women age backwards? She said, because we mind our business and we hydrate. No, we mind our business and we moisturize. And I called my best friend, the one I do my podcast with. She's a Black woman, and we were dying laughing because she's always like, I can't talk now, I'm moisturizing. But I was thinking, like, when you were telling that story, I was thinking, God, Ebony and Janice would be like, mind your business. Why are you so triggered that?
Right? It's
like,
true.
Just worry about you.
It's true. And I remember walking away from it going, yeah, why are you judging this? And the whole reason I was judging it was because I was jealous. And I was like, whoa, are you really fearless? And I wasn't, And again, mind my own business. I'm learning that a lot more in 2020. Like, mind my own business.
Me too. And like, I mean, it in the context they were talking about a lot was like these white ladies who, the Karen thing, like they come in and they see something and they call the police or they do, it's like, just mind your business.
Yeah. Mind your fucking business.
But yeah, so fearlessness-ish is my favorite because for me, it just feels more true. That's all. I'm always like, how can I be more free? And the way I can be more free is by being more honest with myself.
Yes. I think truth, you say it somewhere in the book. I think it's tell the truth. Fuck. Here it is. You need to listen and tell the truth. And those are
the only two prerequisites for my workshops or retreats, besides don't be an asshole. Listen and tell the truth. And the listening, I'd say, trumps all because it's, I just started this retreat now, but online. It's really great. And I said, like, if all you do is listen, your life will be changed. And that's a money back guarantee. And I'm willing to give money back because it's true.
Yeah.
And that being a therapist, it's true if you're really listening, because how can you not be changed, affected, moved, softened if you're really listening? You are.
Yeah. I think listening is one of the most underrated qualities in human beings. Like there's so many things that we all in, this country, it's like money, success, looks, all, but what about active listening? And I find, and I know that I'm not the first person to say this to you, but the first time that I met you, I went, holy shit, she listens. I don't experience people listen to the depth that you do. And for me, again, as a therapist, I notice how much people just love to talk. People don't listen. And it's one of the most loving acts that we can do for somebody is to listen and to listen with an open heart, which I was not doing at that past workshop.
I agree. And you're human. It's okay. It's like, you recognize it. See, if you didn't have the recognition of, gee, why am I being an asshole? Then there's the disconnect, but you did. And what, what's interesting is you haven't even met me in person yet, because in person is where, that's where the magic of what I do, which sounds kind of douchey, but is that because I am deaf without my hearing aids, I'm profoundly hard of hearing. Actually Zoom and the phone is easier because it streams right through my hearing aids. But in person, I have to kind of like get in your lap. So I'm really close to you. Imagine pre-COVID. And so it's terrifying, but you really feel me listening because I'm right up in your face because I have to be. So the irony and the beauty that I've become such a good listener is, again, for me, it's so much about possibility, because when you think I really have built a career on listening, and I wear hearing aids and I can't hear for shit. It's so cool.
Yeah. It's unbelievable. It's really, I mean, yeah, it's phenomenal to me. And again, reading your book and the fact that you were running retreats and and listening the way that you do and leaning into it versus running away from it. Whereas, the beginning of your book talks about the sort of not wanting to face it, right? And but now that you have the openness and the love that comes from that, I mean, it's truly a gift. It's really like sitting with you is something I haven't, truly, I haven't experienced with many people. Yeah.
That really, really means a lot. And that's why I'm creating Shame Loss, because I had so much shame around my hearing loss. And I remember I was leading a private retreat once, and this woman did not understand. She was like, I don't understand. Why would you have shame around that? And I thought, well, first of all, shame isn't logical or rational. But it's because I felt broken and embarrassed, and I don't know. But I was so ashamed, and I was so not willing to admit it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I think the true of truth is that I was so afraid, because I was afraid if I admitted it, it would make it real. And then it would just keep getting worse. And eventually I wouldn't hear anything at all. And that's still a fear I have.
Yeah.
It's a fear, but I don't let it stop me from living my life or leaving the house,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I'm really open now about my hearing loss, because it's exhausting otherwise. So if I don't say anything, it's exhausting. Yesterday I went to the eye doctor, and I almost cried, because she had her mask on, and I told her, I read lips, I'm deaf, I read lips. And she pulled it down, but it was still covering half her mouth. And she kept talking, and finally, and I was not very patient, I was like, can you just take it off? But because it's like, especially at a doctor, it's so anxiety inducing.
Mm-hmm.
And, but I don't have time anymore. I don't have the patience anymore to pretend I can hear someone, to fake it. So now I just right away, I lead with the thing that caused me shame.
Yeah, I just have to that is, I don't know. I don't even know if I have anything to say after that. I think that's, I feel like all the courses or things that we've talked about regarding shame as therapists, I mean, that you just encapsulated everything, really. And I know you're going to be doing a course, right, on shame loss. That's what you were just.
It's going to be an evergreen course. So it's not the same thing as I'm doing at these retreats. And I'm really excited about it, because so far in my life, every single thing I've done has been because I've had to show up either, on Zoom or take an airplane. And this is the first time I'm going to do something that I'm going to create it, and then it'll be done and out there. And I'm just really, I'm ready, and I'm excited for that.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. Big time. Okay. I feel, Jennifer, we don't necessarily have to go into, unless you want to, the body stuff, the aging, because I have some final questions.
Let's talk about aging really quickly.
Well, yep.
No, what are your thoughts that you want me to?
Well, I wanted to bring up the shame piece. I wanted to kind of circle that back in, because I feel, at least what I listen to with my female clients, and not just female, male as well, but there is this really hidden shame around food restriction. It doesn't necessarily have to be a diagnosable eating disorder, but how much shame there is. And people that really come to me and say, if really people knew how much I obsess about what I put in my mouth or body check or, and I just think it's rampant. It's rampant, and it's not just with women. I will never say that, but
Agreed.
I hear it from tons of people, and just how kind of unkind we are to our bodies, but there's a lot of shame around it, because And
so, it's a struggle for me, because, as you know, my father died at 38 years old. So aging is a complicated issue for me. Because as a child, on an unconscious level, 38 was the age of death. I could never visualize myself older. And so that's a really unconscious old belief that it's like, okay, 38 and I'm way past that now. So that's just mind blowing. But the flip side of my father dying at 38 is I really understand on a deep level, on a body level, that aging is a privilege. And every time I start to get down on myself because, like, oh my God, I'm noticing these lines around my mouth and I don't even smoke. What the fuck? It's like, you know what? Your dad died at 38. You're 45. I mean, it's just, we forget that being alive is such a fucking privilege. And, maybe when you're in COVID and you didn't know if you were going to live or die, you remembered that. I get glimpses of it. But the question is, or for me, the question is, well, how do I stay connected to that every single day? That nothing is guaranteed. Nothing. And if that's depressing, I don't apologize because it's just true. It's the truest truth there is. Nothing is guaranteed. You're not owed anything. And it's just the patriarchy. It's like, how do we, this is why I love working with young people. We have to keep dismantling it and not perpetuating it. So the more women lie about their age, I know my mother-in-law is like mortified that I like say how old I am. And I just won't, I remember when I was an actor and I was in my late 20s and I think like how afraid I was then of aging. And I look back and it makes me so sad. And like how I thought I was so old and I was like 27 and the more honest we are about our age, it's just like, who cares? There's the myth that we lose value as we age or beauty or any of this bullshit, but it means that we have to stop buying into these truths in quotes that we've been sold.
Yeah.
And keep just showing up as we are, and that's not to say like, whatever, if you get Botox, your choice, or you dye your hair. I do. I don't want to be gray yet. And I'm very gray. I cover it. But I think one day I will, my mom's 71 and she's fully white hair. But like, I like having brown hair. It looks pretty. And so right now I'm going to keep it that way, but it's not, I don't know why, actually. Maybe, I've had people be like, just embrace it. And it's like, well, I don't want to. Yeah. And I get to, I get to do what I want. That's the beautiful thing. But I think it's like, it's when you're doing it for you. And that's a hard thing to differentiate sometimes, if am I doing it for me, or am I doing this to feel more desirable and more worthy and more, that youth is the currency, and it's just all such bullshit. So I love older women. And right now, what's really exciting for me is I have no demographic. I have teenagers and I have women in their 70s. So I feel like I'm killing it. Just like, it is human is my demographic.
Human is your demographic. Yeah. I think you brought up an excellent point though, which is that discernment of doing things for yourself as an individual, or whether we're just kind of falling into the patriarchy, right?
Yeah.
And a girlfriend and I was telling you this girlfriend and I, Allison, we were going up to Yosemite and we were talking a lot about girlfriends getting Botox and fillers and us feeling frustrated. And I'm not going to say I haven't engaged in, I've done my dance with anti-aging, whether it's microneedling and going, oh, well, it's not Botox, it's microneedling, but it's still, so who is that for though? This agelessness and this, but also what you said, which is if it feels good, and if there is part of you that doesn't want to embrace it, you also just have to fucking embrace where you are. And that was her and I's discussion, is really like, we shouldn't judge other women who want to engage in those things because it's hard.
I know. I think and it's hard sometimes because it's like, I don't know about you, but I find myself going, oh, it just makes me so sad. When you see someone, to me, sometimes looks like mutilating their own face. And, but again, it's not from, it's like, stay in your lane. I don't know. This is a whole episode. It's complicated. Yeah. It's really complicated. I mean, like I wear these big ass lashes and I love it and I feel pretty and I love it. I mean, I think I'm doing it for me, but I don't know. What if we just keep unpacking and unpacking and unpacking, and who knows?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it is like maybe 2 or 3 episodes because again, as my,
I think it's great. We could come back and talk about it, and we can, what's really interesting is lately I've been talking to my friends and we're like, because there's things about getting older, like I don't love the lines around my mouth. I don't love the certain things on my face. And I'm like, oh, just the changes. I struggle with change. But like also physically, like my back hurts all the time. And, like I feel 100 sometimes when I get up. And so my friends and I were talking, like I wouldn't want to go back and be 30 again or 25, but I would, but the me I am now. Like how much I love myself and like myself now in that body, if there was a way. But I would never want to go back to the mentality or the headspace, that I was on. I adore myself now. I'm like, I am great. So like, what if I was this and just like a younger body? So I was just more agile. But that ain't ever gonna happen.
No,
that's fantasy land.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. And in one of the first episodes that I wrote about perfectionism, I actually talk about how, there's a part of me that would love to go back to my 18-year-old, or let's make this appropriate, 20-year-old tight booty, and all these things and everything but it's also the wisdom and the growth and all of these layers that have peeled back in me. I would take that over my perkier tits or my ass that was a little bit more, bouncy out the top. Yes. So okay, to be continued. I think it's a big discussion.
To be continued.
Yeah, it's a large one. Okay, so that I don't keep you on here for 5 hours, because I absolutely could. I'm going to give you some rapid fire. Some of them are light. Some of them are not so light questions, but if you can just answer whatever comes to you.
Give it to me.
Okay, so first one, Beyonce or Rihanna fan? Both,
but I'm more familiar with Beyonce's. Well, okay. I love them both, but Beyonce is just more. Beyonce. I know more.
Okay.
Beyonce.
At the beginning of this, I almost played the song for you. Who runs the world, girls?
Yeah. But I love me some Rihanna too. So it's a tie. I just know more. I just know of Beyonce more.
Yes. Okay, this is a not so light question. Biden or Trump?
Oh, fuck you. Biden.
Okay.
Just fuck you. Don't worry, Trump. Yeah, God damn it.
I know. No, it was a trick question. Okay, next one. Why do you think we are here on this planet?
Why am I on this planet?
Yeah. Humans or yourself personally?
Love. To connect. To connect.
Yes. Okay. Yes. Yes. Okay. Here's another. Some people might think that this is kind of a dark question, but I think it's really important, which is, so in the country of Bhutan, there's a practice of contemplating your death five times a day. Okay. So, and it's one of the happiest countries in the world with this practice.
Wait, did you say contemplating your death?
Yes.
Oh my God. Okay.
Yeah. I'm really, it's my intense way of wrapping up my podcast episode.
Okay.
It really threw off my therapist friend. She was like, "What, Gina?" Okay. So instead of thinking that contemplating your mortality is morbid or dark, really it's more of a way to kind of get present in our daily life. And what you were saying, like, right, there's not this guarantee. There's no fucking guarantee. Yeah. If there's anything we've been taught by 2020, there's no guarantee of so many things, right? Yeah. So the question I want to ask is, what do you think happens after you pass?
I truly have no idea. And I think about it all the time as someone who's gone through so much loss, especially at such a young age. My hope is, I don't know. I absolutely have no idea. And I think about it all the time. But I know I talk to my dad all the time, and I believe has a hand in all the amazing magical shit that happens in my life. So somehow he's floating around. I don't know exactly how, but that's not my place to know how, or it. But I do think our souls are somewhere. They don't die.
No. Yeah. It's a question. I think also that was a beautiful answer. I won't go into my answer, but I think it's, who knows really?
Yeah.
But I definitely, the idea that souls and energy continues on and is around us. And there's definitely
Yeah.
I mean, I think I even wrote you that I like felt something of my mom, and it'll make me cry right now. But when I was doing breath work, and I just like, you just feel something, and you don't know if it's a past memory, if it's their energy lingering around, but
and it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
We always are like let's figure this out instead of just circling back to the very beginning of this episode of like just allowing it.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter. It's there.
You're right.
It's in you. It's there. So it doesn't matter if it's quote unquote just a memory, or if she's it doesn't. I think.
Yeah. I think yes. Yes, and yes. So I want to thank you. I have the most gratitude that you came to Spaces Between, and you're a rock star as a human being. And I guess also as we close up, if there's anything that you want to share with the audience about where to find you, what you have coming up, I leave that to you. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. So mainly I'm on Instagram, Jen Pastiloff. You can get my book on being human. It's a national bestseller. It's out in paperback. And most recently, podcast launched last week. I'm really proud of it. It's called What Are You Bringing? We have some episodes up. We have 5 episodes up already because we dropped a bunch with Elizabeth Gilbert and Tracy Stanley and Lydia Yokonovich and my partner, Alicia Easter. And lastly, shameloss.com. So my shame loss course is launching, by the time you listen to this episode, it'll be ready to go in December. So you can buy it for the holidays, but I'm really, excited for it because, who's got time for shame? Not me. And I think a lot of people talk about weight loss going into January, and I'm interested in shame loss.
I love it.
Mic drop.
Mic drop. On that, we will end. And I just want to thank you again for your time and just your energy, who you are as a human and soul. Mwah.
Thank you, baby.
Much love. Yes. Bye.
Hi, friends. If you have been enjoying Spaces Between, please take a moment to subscribe, and leaving a review is the cherry on top. Thank you so much, and I look forward to connecting with you next week.